The head of al-Qaeda was killed in a US strike in Afghanistan last year, but there's still no sign that the terror group has replaced him. The death of Ayman al-Zawahiri was a major blow to the organisation, and now Washington admits it has no idea about who will take his place. Well, joining me to discuss, Normal Roule is a Middle East expert and a former member of the CIA. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. So would you say that Zawahiri's death last August spelled the end for the group?
Good evening to you and to your viewers. The death of Ayman al-Zawahiri did not spell the end of al-Qaeda, but al-Qaeda's significance in the world of international terrorism has been degraded significantly because of Western efforts to attack the group and to erode its personnel structures, as well as the fact that many of Islamic groups are now working regionally, less under the tutelage of al-Qaeda and more associated with ISIS or their own individual ideologies.
Does the US have any idea at all about potential suspects to replace Zawahiri?
Yes, we do. But there are a couple of facts I keep in mind first. Before al-Qaeda can identify a successor, it's got to make sure that individuals stay alive. And the death of Ayman al-Zawahiri indicates that there are some security issues that al-Qaeda will want to address. Next, they'll want to keep the leader in Afghanistan or in that general area, and the relationship with the Taliban is still unsettled. But if you ask for specific names, there are probably three individuals who are most likely. There is the Egyptian Special Forces colonel and longtime al-Qaeda leader Saif al-Adil, under loose detention in Iran. There is Yassin Suri, a facilitator of al-Qaeda, Syrian-born, who is also based in Iran. And last, there is Ayman al-Zawahiri's son-in-law himself, Abdurrahman al-Maghribi, Moroccan-born, who was the head of al-Qaeda's media arm, so he is would also be very capable. But they're going to it's going to take a while for them to identify someone who can survive and lead the group, but they need a leader.
Well, there are still some questions on there over how exactly Zawahiri was killed last August and whether or not the Taliban tipped off the US about where he was. Do you have any ideas?
It's very unlikely the Haqqani network, which has been a longtime ally of al-Qaeda, tipped off the United States to the presence of Zawahiri. And the U.S. reports that Zawahiri was killed with an advanced Reaper drone are probably accurate and should be believed.
Where would you say al-Qaeda is most active, and how have its aims changed over the past decade?
Under Osama bin Laden, al-Qaeda was a centralized group that had rather strict control of elements in Africa, Yemen, Syria, and elsewhere. Osama bin Laden was charismatic, and he had that influence. Zawahiri lacked most of that charisma, and he ushered in an era where al-Qaeda became a decentralized organization, and its capacities were extremely limited, but they still existed. And you had Yassin Suri playing an important role as the connective tissue between the leadership in Afghanistan or Pakistan and elements abroad. I should note that Yassin Suri worked and conducted this activity in Iran with the knowledge of the Iranian government, and indeed the United States intelligence community routinely published annual reports declaring that Yassin Suri was based in Iran. Iran, of course, denied this.
Of course, no terrorist organisation can survive without new recruits, and al-Qaeda has had some pretty stiff competition from ISIS over the past few years, hasn't it? Does it still manage to attract new recruits?
Al-Qaeda still has a presence and a capacity to inspire militants, but it doesn't recruit per se for the central organization. Again, we're now looking at probably 13 to 14 different Al-Qaeda and ISIS-related groups in Africa alone, and they tend to operate regionally or within specific countries. So they're motivated by the Al-Qaeda ideology, but they're not necessarily more loyal to Al-Qaeda than they are to their own individual group.
You mentioned Iran. Is Iran providing cover to al-Qaeda?
Certainly, Iran has the capacity to turn over Saif al-Adil to the Egyptian government, his home government, Abdurrahman al-Maghribi to Morocco, his home government, and Yassine Assouri to the international authorities. Iran has been approached many times by the international community to do so. It has denied the presence of these individuals, which was a bit of an embarrassment when someone arranged for the death of Abu Muhammad al-Masri and his daughter Miriam in Tehran last year. And that was an embarrassment for Iran, because Iran insisted they were not, in essence, free to move around, and they were killed while moving on the streets of Tehran.
Norman Roule, thank you very much indeed.